Radio Network. He is in the house. We asked him to come, and he did. And that is West Fargo Mayor Bernie Dardis. You've heard some of the individuals that have formed a group called West Fargo TAP. Now, they've been in here. We've given them airtime to express their concerns and what they think is going on with the governance of the city of West Fargo. We invited Mayor Dardis to come. He's here. He's willing to take any and all. Mayor, good to have you on News and Views.
Morning, Joel. Thank you for having me.
Let's get to the meat and potatoes right away. There are major concerns about staffing at West Fargo and whether or not certain people should have even had a job, whether or not once they left the job, they should have been allowed to draw a salary by consulting. Where are we at today? We can go backwards all we want, but that isn't going to fix things. Where are we at today with the employee situation in West Fargo, and who runs the city for you?
Well, who runs the city for us is obviously the city commission. We obviously have employees that continue to work for the city of West Fargo and do a good job. So with that being said, we have hired a new finance director and a lady of great experience, and I think she's going to be very, very good at what she does. She's all the indications are as to how she's reorganizing that department, as that's where we terminated 3 employees from utility billing and accounts receivable and payables, and so she's rebuilding that as we speak. Last Thursday we had interviews for a new human resources director. We had 14 candidates. There were obviously several that rose to the top. The top selection was offered a position on Monday. They have accepted, and that'll be coming forward as to who that person is. But it's someone with a great deal of experience, and we look very forward to having her join us.
So what I'm hearing there that kind of jumps out at me is people want these jobs. They don't think that it's like, hey, they're walking into a hailstorm here.
That question has never came up. They've asked them very pointed questions about, the staffing, for example, finance, as to how that recovery, if you will, because we took some people that we knew to be very good at what they did. They had some cross-training, and so they've been helping us in those areas with payroll, for example, and utility billing and those types of things. And we're doing fine.
Go ahead, Bernie.
No, I'd say when I say we're doing fine, obviously we've got some people that are working out of their present job responsibilities, but they're extraordinary employees. They're stepping up and they're getting the job done for us.
So they're the part-time or the Band-Aid until you get the other one on.
Correct.
Okay. Want to talk to you about something that you did, which is it played out all over the media, a huge concern because Cargill didn't. I don't think it's fair to say they didn't pay their bill. They never got billed for their bill when it comes to water. Fair to say, or how would you put this?
Fair to say.
Okay. So you went and knocked on Cargill's door and said, what can happen? What happened?
Well, you have to go back a little bit further, is that when this was first unveiled and discovered, that there was conversations between our acting finance director and the management at Cargill. Now, I want to make something very perfectly clear when it comes to Judy Alfdahl. She had been with us a very short period of time. She had done a great job. She was the one that started to uncover some of these issues, okay? So the communication between Cargill and her initially, when we were presenting the back billings, the first one was for over 2 years. And Cargill agreed to pay that. That was $509,000 and some change. And their message to Judy was that that's what they thought, that's what they were going to pay. So Judy doesn't make the decision to accept that. Judy's the messenger back to the city, to our city administrator. And so there was some dialogue between those folks. And at no time did the city commission approve that the $509,000 was going to be the dollar amount. When I found out through an email that it was indicating that the city would accept that as a final. I said no. At the city commission, I think my quote is, "This is embarrassing, and I want all communication stopped, and I want to visit with them." And at no time was Cargill nothing but an absolute great community partner in this discussion. There was never anything that was controversial whatsoever. They were totally accepting. First of all, I sent them a letter, and I sent them along with that the accounting of the additional $689,000 that was not billed. The day Cargill got my letter and that accounting, got a great phone call and welcomed the dialogue, and we moved forward and discussed that. They would run it up the management chain, and the following I believe that was on a Tuesday. The following Thursday, I get a phone call, and he said, "Mayor, I want to thank you again for the letter that you sent." And I have a copy of the letter with me if you want to read it. And he said, "Cargill will be paying the entire balance in this discussion." And that was really quite that simple. The only caveat that they asked for was that we have an agreement, that we don't go continuing to see whether or not there's something back from many, many years ago and things like that.
So that it ends when they pay that.
It ends when they pay that. And I received the final document today. Cargill's attorney and our attorney are crafting that, and the document is ready as about 2 minutes before you invited me into your studio. I was sitting in the lobby when I got notice that I need to stop by City Hall and sign that.
So it's done?
It's done.
Okay. Mayor, I want to talk to you about how that even happened, because I want to go back to my old profession. That's a lot of water to have lost. And it's different in your particular case even because you bought the water. The water comes from Fargo. Am I right for Cargill?
That is correct. Well,
okay. You used to have well water.
In recent years, that's correct.
Yeah.
For about the last 5 years, that's correct.
Right. But it's easier to track when you're buying it through a meter than when you're pumping it through a well.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so what I struggled with when I first heard about it was with that amount of water, every water system has an unaccounted amount of water. They do, because you're going to, whether it's in the treatment process, whether it's a water leak on Fifth Avenue, whatever. But this amount of water, I think you'd have to wonder how it got missed. Cargill had to have a good understanding of it, so I'm glad that they stepped up and paid it. But on a city level, is there an assurance that no one's going to miss or ignore that amount of water again?
That's a difficult question to answer because the error was a human error, okay? Mm-hmm. It wasn't the fact that they weren't reporting how much water that Cargill had used. When it was entered into receivables, it was entered incorrectly. So, take 2 million gallons, for example. Move the decimal point.
Now you're billing me for 200,000 is what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay. Again.
And when there's a concern about that, and you understand what's transpired, move the decimal again. Where are we at? 20,000.
Mm-hmm.
When I said this was embarrassing to understand, this happened on my watch. I had the honor and privilege to serve as the mayor of West Fargo. It was beyond comprehension as to how some of this could transpire to do this. But the oversight is, where's the oversight? Well, obviously, when you were still in the water business of what you're doing, when you have someone that you have charged with the responsibility, and they enter something in wrong at the very basic of levels, is Joel Heitkamp going to catch it, or Bernie Dardis is going to catch it?
No, but my auditor will.
Yeah.
Because in those days, I got audited by an independent audit agency every year, and they'd look over. And one of the things they'd look at is the amount of unaccounted water, because they would gauge whether or not I was doing my job by whether or not I was ignoring what should have been billed. And so it goes back to the TAP group, Mayor, that was in here. And one of the things they called upon in here that didn't seem unreasonable to me was an audit process that the city could actually use as a tool to make sure that all the bases are being covered. Is there going to be in the city of West Fargo a new method of being able to track the finances of West Fargo?
Let's go back to the water thing.
Okay.
I was in about the second year that I was elected, my first term. I asked this very question. I wanted to know what our receivables were for water versus what our expenditures were for water. And there was a discrepancy. It was about 1 million gallons. This is, like I said, 3 years ago probably. So at that, I sat down with our public works director, and I said, what is the type of water loss that we can expect because of old infrastructure or water breaks or whatever? And that was totally and completely discussed. Then I sat down with the fire chief, with Dan Fuller, and Chief Fuller explained, approximately an estimate of how many gallons were used fighting
flushing
fire.
hydrants,
and then flushing hydrants.
Yep.
Well, there's a new system of flushing hydrants where they don't use near the volume of water. When you have a situation when you're purchasing your water versus using aquifers or wells or whatever the case might be, and so it was plausible that it was about 1 million gallons. That was at that point back in history. And so what's transpired with this and the fact that we weren't billing Cargill was nothing less than embarrassing. I'm responsible. It's on my watch. And we're going to fix it.
I respect you saying that and fixing it going forward. But to me, it's something that, and I said when I started this conversation, that the steps that I'm going to be most focused on that I want to ask you about are going forward. So I respect that.
Okay.
What I'm trying to get at, though, is going forward, you have to look at what happened in the past. And so what I'm curious about is how you as a commission, you as mayor, know that no matter how much you trust these new people coming in, that you've got a document in front of you from somebody that has no relation to them other than to come in and audit them that says, you know what, they're doing their job and they're doing it right.
Make no mistake. You refer to this group of citizens as TAP, right?
That's what they refer to themselves as.
That's a legitimate concern for any taxpayer in the city of West Fargo. For some of the things that we're dealing with, any citizen should have concerns of how this is going to be fixed. So first of all, when it comes to an audit, we're in the middle of our year-end audit as it is. Now, again, with your worldly experience that you've had in business, there's all kinds of audits. There's a management audit that can be conducted, which could very well be a part of an audit moving forward. Mm-hmm. There's also a forensic audit as to whether or not. So one of the things I want to assure is that we are looking at every element of all of those billings, okay, that take place in our enterprise funds, whether it's water, sewer, garbage, even the hookups that we have for sump pumps. They weren't being administered properly. So the person has been replaced. That's a key element of that. So when we get our yearly audit, Eide Bailey is our accounting firm that does that. When they're completed with that, I'm not going, with all due respect, I'm not going to call for another audit while we got auditors already in the building when we've got a shortened financial organization in-house. Once we get that done, then I'll take this to the city commission after I visit with the finance director, our new finance director, and what elements do we have to do. I've had very brief conversations. I do believe that part of the issue was staffing, in the sense of not enough staff.
Yes, we were talking about Cargill and his resolution of that. I got a chance to look at the letter on the break that he sent Cargill which to me, I can understand why that opened doors up for a company that wasn't responsible for the loss in revenue from the sale of water. And, Mayor, take it for what it's worth. That was a very professional letter that basically put the blame where it was, and it sounds to me like the corporation respected that.
Well, you're dealing with a world-class organization with world-class people. I felt confident that if I engaged in this and in a conversation with those people, that there was a potential that we were going to be either partially successful or completely successful. Yeah. They're great people. They're great community partners of West Fargo. They've been there for years. Mr. Gregoric and we talked about that. I can remember when they gave out, I believe it was 600 helmets for children one year in Night to Unite. A year or two later, they gave out about that many life jackets for children. So they're engaged with our community. They're a great community partner. And when this was all come to light and the like, it was unfortunate, but they responded.
But the Cargill situation and what was found out about Cargill was really symptomatic. It
Correct.
You found out that there was a cancer before you found out that this was one of the sources.
Correct.
And so the issue goes beyond that. And when we come back, ponder this on the break. Ide Bailey used to be the one that audited us. How did they not catch some of this stuff? We talked about Ide Bailey, your auditor in this particular case, and why they didn't find some of what was wrong prior to this all becoming so public as what it has been. And so I have to ask you that.
Well, the nature of an audit, as you well know, Joel, again, having your business experience that you do, is that audits look for different types of things. There's different types of audits. Basically, what they want to do is they want to make sure that best practices are being followed with regard to, is there, when it comes to deposits of checks, and that there's more than two people that handle checks and things like that. So the audits that they're doing, I'll look forward to this year's audit. Not as well, I'm sure that the public will see if what they discover and what they find. With all of this discussion going on of the issues that we've had and the audit being conducted, I haven't pushed them. I haven't asked them to change that their normal methodology that they're using. We'll see what we come at the end of that. Once the commission sees that audit, and if we feel that it's inadequate in the sense of some of the operational things that we've done, that's when we'll have a discussion of whether or not there should be a forensic audit or whether there should be a managerial audit or things like that. Well, we've already taken a look with the new finance director that we've had as to how, those people that were responsible for utility billing or those people responsible for accounts receivable or those responsible for payroll, those types of things. It is my opinion, we were asking those people to do a lot. And they were doing not only, say, for example, job X, but also job Y, part-time, and we were mixing that. I think that was part of the issue that we were dealing with.
The only pushback I'll give you on that is that, again, you are metered. The city of Fargo knows exactly how much water they sold you.
Correct.
Okay. And you would know simply by looking at what you've billed out how many gallons of water that you've billed out. And the auditor should be able to have seen that. Here's how much you got billed for. Here's how much you billed out. And that's a big red flag for auditors. Now, we talked about them earlier. You got flushing of hydrants. You got fires. You've got parks and rec. You've got swimming pools. There's probably things that you don't bill the same way because they're municipalities or things that you do. But I would struggle to wonder why an amount as large as what it was, the auditor didn't catch. And so since we made an agreement, we talk about the future here as well. Is that going to be something that you look at the auditor and say, hey, we need to know this?
Absolutely. And I hope that we're at even a closer level than that when it comes to the finance department, how we're going to do that. Your points are very relevant when you start talking about the water thing. These issues started in 2017. So your baseline of what you're comparing 17 to 18 to 19, when these mistakes were being taken place and the water wasn't being built, it gives you a false sense, if you understand what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. So what you're saying is the let's use Cargill, and unfortunately for them, because this is the big one that we keep using that name, but Cargill, the amount of water that they didn't get billed wasn't a year. It was built up over years, is what you're saying? Or is that not true?
That's absolutely true.
Right.
I have it right here in front of me. It started in 2017. I have the total underbilled gallons, estimated actual gallons of what we intended, and what we billed. So here, estimated actual gallons. 2,930,000 gallons. 2,930,000 gallons. Now ask me what they were billed. 293,000. That's what I've told you about.
It's the decimal point.
This whole decimal point. This thing that was taking place. So from 2017, it gives you a false sense of what your baseline is what you're going to compare it to.
Mm-hmm.
It's a tragedy.
Right. But again,
proportion.
if I'm Ide Bailey, and I did some wonderful work with Ide Bailey, I'd be bringing in some of the auditors that came in the room, and I'd say, hey, you got some work here to do as well.
You got to remember that we've also hired AE2S, and they're critical people with regard when we terminated some of the individuals from the finance department. AE2S, Nexus, their has done a great job. They're making recommendations to us constantly as to how we're moving forward.
And that actually came up, Mayor Dardis, because A2S, the amount that they're billing you seems to be substantial. Is it something that you think will need to go on, or it's the forensic side you were talking about? Let's get things cleaned up. Let's make sure A2S helps us to clean this up, and then they can go away. Is that going to be the attitude?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Correct.
So
the last city commission meeting, we asked for an extension. I believe it was 60 days. We asked for, and the city commission unanimously passed that resolution. We know we need to get, with our new finance director, and she's rebuilding that department. So she needs help.
Mm-hmm. I'm an A2S fan. They're good, fair, honest people. That I was the first rural water system to hire them as our engineering firm. So I took a risk on a bunch of young guys that ended up now being one of the premier engineering firms that has subsidiaries that handle some of these things.
Their lead person with Nexus has done an admirable job. Great job.
Want to put this to you, because I don't think it's fair for me to say it and then not say it when you're in the room. Which is the relationship of the commission itself. The readings that I've had and some of the news reports I've heard make it quite clear from your position that you're one vote out of five votes. Okay, and I can respect that because that's true. But I've said, and I'm going to say it to your face, you are the mayor of West Fargo. And when crap hit the fan here, there's one person that everybody like me wanted to talk to, and it was Bernie Dardis. And so you are the face of West Fargo. You are the voice of West Fargo. And will that change now to a more, I don't know if the word aggressive is right, a more public Bernie Dardis, instead of that business model of, hey, you're in charge of this department, I've got to trust you, more so in line of, no, I'm the mayor and I've got bigger responsibilities here.
I asked for this job, and the citizens of West Fargo blessed me with allowing me to be their mayor. So the answer is yes. I have that responsibility. This happened, like I said, while I was serving as the president of the commission. And that's hard for me to wrap my head around, is that we had the type of issues that we had. It really is. Never in my wildest dreams when some of this was coming to light, would I ever imagine the depth of how how we were failing in this department. We talk about a lot of different things, and we could if you take a look at the fire department and the key performance indicators that the fire department uses, and how we've expanded the fire department and how we're moving forward with a full-time fire department. You take a look at the police department and Chief Otterness and what they do and the key performance indicators. And this is some of the things that the TAP group has brought up to us. And so we have departments that are absolutely doing this. I feel very confident, with a couple of exceptions, that what we're doing in public works is exceptional work. From the very beginning when this started to be uncovered, our director of public works, Mr. Anvik, put the right person on it, a right individual. I went out and I shook her hand and I thanked her for what she did because once she got through water, she went to sewer. And when she got through sewer, she went to garbage. And the scope of the issues that we had because of personnel errors was hard to even comprehend. Mm-hmm. So my point is, do I have to be a better communicator? Yes. Do I have to, one of the things that the TAP group has asked me to do is to possibly have public forums or coffee or whatever with the public and let them come in and just absolutely vent. We went to a public comment with our city commission meetings. But
you hadn't had that before.
We hadn't had it before. When this started to come to light, I went to the commission and said, we have to initiate this. I'm going to offer that you all join me in being a part of that process. And if you choose not to, that's your decision. But I'm going to do it. It's been somewhat effective. We've heard everything from angry about their neighbor's dog, angry,
I knew that was
it's the full thing.
Yeah.
But these folks, the people that are concerned, that are continuing to monitor how we're progressing, that's fair.
Yeah.
There's nothing.
So you're
wrong.
giving them a forum to talk.
I'm trying to give them a forum to talk, and if we feel that it's inadequate and we need to move forward, then I'll certainly be receptive to that possibility.
Last question, Mayor Dardis. The TAP group, because this community-based group is a group that continues to raise issues. And I said to them here when they were in the studio, I said, the ultimate goal for you must be to not need your group anymore. Have they put a checklist together in terms of this, that, and that because of what you've described today, you've met many of their concerns so that they're close to not being around, for lack of a better way of putting it?
Yes, they put some documentation in front of us and some of the research they do. Some of the things that they're getting are from former employees. Some of it's on their own volition and their own research that they're sharing with us. The most recent one was with regard to water loss in a number of other respective cities of similar size to West Fargo. So, some of the things that they're bringing forward are very positive and things that we should consider. Some of the things that they're getting from some of the other folks within the community are flawed in the sense that they're not accurate. They're not completely correct. But the fact of the matter is they continue to have a dialogue with us. And I think that there's nothing wrong with that. Again, we have to accept the responsibility that we were where the city of West Fargo was failing in a number of areas. And we have to address it. And we have to instill the confidence in the public that we're going to fix it.
Well, you have an absolutely great problem, which is you're the fastest growing city in the whole state of North Dakota. And with that, I have no doubt there's going to come even more problems. So, Mayor, you gave me more time than I asked for. I appreciate you coming in.
Thank you, Joel. I appreciate the opportunity.